What if humanity's most ancient artists were trying to tell us about encounters that changed the course of history forever? Imagine this. You're standing before a cave that's over 10,000 years old, and you see images that make your heart race. Strange figures with large heads and enormous eyes stare at you across millennia. Are these simply products of ancient artists' imagination, or something more? Today we'll embark on an incredible journey through the most mysterious cave paintings on the planet. We'll explore images that baffle scientists and force us to reconsider our understanding of ancient history. Are you ready to discover the truth about what our ancestors might have seen in the sky thousands of years ago? Let's begin our investigation with one of the most amazing places on Earth, the Tarsili Plateau in Algeria. Here, among the Sahara sands, caves hide paintings over 8,000 years old. But these aren't ordinary images of animals or hunting scenes. Among thousands of drawings stand out strange figures that researchers call the great gods of Tarsili. These beings are depicted with round heads from which rays of light sometimes emanate. They have large eyes, thin bodies, and most intriguingly, they're often shown wearing what appears to be protective suits. French researcher Henry Lotte, who first studied these caves in detail in the 1950s, was amazed by what he saw. He described the figures as Martians even before popular culture created the modern image of aliens. One of the most famous drawings shows a figure over 6 meters tall with a round head emitting rays. Local inhabitants call this image the Great Martian God. Let's move to another continent, Australia. Here, in remote areas, Aboriginal people have been creating rock art for millennia, passing knowledge from generation to generation. Among their drawings, images of beings they call Wandjina hold a special place. These figures have distinctive features: large heads, thin bodies, long arms. But most amazing, Aboriginal people claim these beings came from the sky and taught their ancestors various skills. Their oral tradition preserves stories about how the Wandjina descended from the heavens in shining objects and shared knowledge. Drawings in Kimberley, northwestern Australia, date back up to 20,000 years. Among them are images that strikingly resemble modern representations of aliens, grey figures with large eyes and heads. Researchers note that these images were created independently of modern cultural influence. India keeps its secrets in the caves of Chhattisgarh state. Here archaeologists have discovered rock paintings over 10,000 years old that make us ponder the nature of what's depicted. On cave walls, you can see figures with antennas or strange growths on their heads, beings wearing what looks like spacesuits, and disc-shaped objects in the sky. Some figures hold objects resembling modern technical devices. Particularly interesting is the fact that local tribes still tell legends about bird people who came from the sky and communicated with their ancestors. These traditions have been passed down orally for many generations and remarkably match what's depicted in the ancient drawings. North and South America are also rich in mysterious images. In Utah caves, researchers found drawings that local Native Americans call depictions of star people. These figures have characteristic large eyes, elongated heads, and thin bodies. In Peru, near the famous Nazca lines, there are rock paintings showing beings in strange clothing resembling spacesuits. Some figures are depicted with halos of light around their heads or strange helmets. Particularly intriguing are the drawings in Brazil, in Cerro do Capivara National Park. Here you can see scenes where strange beings interact with humans, passing them some objects or knowledge. The age of these images is estimated at more than 12,000 years. Even in Siberia's harsh conditions, ancient artists left their messages. In Altai, in caves and on rocks, images have been discovered that don't fit conventional ideas about ancient art. Among the drawings are figures wearing what looks like protective clothing, beings with enlarged heads and eyes. Some images show objects in the sky from which rays of light extend toward the Earth. Russian researchers note that these drawings were created at different times but have striking similarities to analogous images from other parts of the world. This makes us wonder, could ancient artists independently depict the same phenomena? When we compare rock paintings from different corners of the world, amazing parallels emerge. Despite these images being created at different times and in different cultures that had no contact with each other, we see figures with enlarged heads and large eyes appear everywhere, from Australia to America, from Africa to Asia. Images of beings wearing what resembles protective clothing or spacesuits are found on all continents. Objects in the sky emitting light were drawn by artists of the most diverse eras and cultures. These coincidences cannot be explained by simple borrowing or the influence of one culture on another. Time gaps and geographical distances make such an explanation impossible. Traditional science offers various explanations for these images. Some researchers believe that large heads and eyes could symbolize wisdom or divinity. Others suggest this is the result of using hallucinogenic substances during rituals. However, supporters of alternative theories point to the detail and realism of many images. They note that ancient artists drew familiar animals and people very accurately. Why then are fantastic beings depicted with the same care and attention to detail? Particularly interesting is the fact that many of these drawings are accompanied by images of ordinary people and animals. This shows that artists distinguished between real and imaginary, making the hallucination hypothesis less convincing. No less important are the oral traditions of peoples who created these drawings. In virtually all cultures where such images are found, legends about contacts with beings from the sky have been preserved. Australian Aborigines tell about Wandjina who taught their ancestors to make fire and craft tools. Native American tribes passed down stories about star people who shared knowledge of agriculture and astronomy. African tribes speak of teachers from the sky who brought civilization. These traditions, passed down from generation to generation long before the emergence of modern science fiction, remarkably correspond to what we see in ancient drawings. Special attention deserves technological details that can be seen in some drawings. In Indian caves there are images of beings holding objects strikingly resembling modern communication devices or tools. In Australian caves you can see figures surrounded by what looks like energy fields or protective barriers. Some researchers note the similarity of these images to modern concepts of energy shields. In American caves, there are drawings of objects that look like aircraft with detailed structural elements. These details couldn't have been products of imagination of people unfamiliar with flight principles. Analysis of the age of various rock paintings shows an interesting picture. The most ancient images of unusual beings date to the period from 15 to 20,000 years ago. This was when humanity was just beginning to form its first civilizations. Interestingly, the peak of creating such images falls in the period from 8 to 12,000 years ago, a time that many researchers associate with a sharp leap in human civilization development. It was precisely during this period that people began agriculture, built first settlements, and developed writing. Is this coincidence or causal relationship? This question remains open, but the facts make us think. Every year archaeologists make new discoveries that add pieces to this mysterious mosaic. Modern technologies, such as laser scanning and digital image processing, allow revealing details that previously went unnoticed. Recent finds in remote Amazon regions have shown rock paintings over 13,000 years old with images of beings that don't correspond to any known animal species or humans of that time. In Antarctica, under ice layers, satellite images have revealed structures that some researchers consider artificial. Although study of these formations is just beginning, assumptions about their connection to ancient civilizations are already emerging. We've taken an amazing journey following ancient artists who left us messages from the distant past. Rock paintings from all continents tell similar stories about encounters with unusual beings, about contacts with people from the sky, about events that could have changed the course of human history. Can we confidently say that these images prove Earth was visited by extraterrestrial civilizations? The scientific community remains divided on this question. However, one thing remains indisputable: these drawings represent real historical documents created by our ancestors thousands of years ago. Perhaps answers to these questions await us in the future, when new discoveries and technologies will allow us to better understand our planet's past. Meanwhile, ancient artists continue to keep their secrets, leaving us room for reflection and research. What do you think about these amazing images? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you found this material interesting, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new investigations into our planet's mysteries. See you in the next video, where even more amazing discoveries await us.